All right. Let's call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Batavia Public Library District for August 18, 2015. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Sure. Popick.
Here.
Oh, McGuire, Popick. So sorry.
Here.
Okay. Blodgett.
Here.
Deichmann.
Here.
Von Lunen.
Here.
Sullivan.
Here.
Henders.
Here.
Schuster. Here.
Okay. Item 4 is comments from the audience. Anyone wishing to address our board this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 5. I'd like to make one change to the consent agenda. We don't have minutes from our regular meeting of June 16th, so we'll need to strike 5A1 from the consent agenda. So that means that our modified consent agenda consists of closed session minutes from June 16, public hearing minutes from July 21, expenditures from July 2015, and a resolution certifying the Illinois Public Library annual report. So would any trustee like to remove any of those items for a separate vote? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Okay, moved by McGuire Popick and second by Von Lunen. Roll call, please.
McGuire, Popick.
Aye.
Blodgett.
Aye.
Deichmann.
Aye.
Von Lunen.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
Henders.
Aye.
Schuster. Aye.
Okay. And then item 6 is approving our regular agenda. Does anyone have any items to add or change from the regular agenda? Okay, can I see a motion to approve that? Okay, moved by Blodgett. Second by McGuire Popick. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our agenda is approved. Item 7 is board education. George, should I turn this one over to you?
Sure, I'd be happy to. We started a new fiscal year, and along with that came new requirements for the annual per capita grant application. And Doug at one point thought the agenda looked a little light, and
I spoke too soon.
but that's okay. It caused me to look at the requirements a little bit earlier this year, and there was a chapter that we were asked to review, Chapter 6, called Access, from the Illinois Public Library Standards. And so as I've done in the past, I've transcribed the applicable core standards and with notations about whether we are meeting those or not. And then this particular chapter had 18, I believe it was, access standards. So I've evaluated those as well. Some of these will look familiar to you. Almost all of the core standards we have discussed in the last couple of years as part of other chapters. The core standards will apply to different chapters in the standards. Maybe only, I think number 20 might be new in the last few years above our hours, and we do have pretty substantial hours here. The access standards, a lot of those will look familiar as well. Some things were changed. They still ask whether we have a fax number listed in the phone book. Once upon a time we did. We no longer list the fax number. We get very little fax traffic nowadays, so we changed that. I've added some new ones from the previous standards. So number 17 on page 7 If a meeting room is available to the public, its use is limited by time, place, and manner only, and not by subject or content of the program. And the board will recall about 2 to 3 years ago, we changed the basic meeting room policy to make us more specifically a limited public forum for public functions, and so we can respond in a positive way to that. So nothing really. We're in good shape in terms of this standard. In the core standards on page 2, there are a couple of spots where we say no policy. We've actually discussed that in the past. One case, the board a number of years ago opted not to have a specific policy on reference, but rather to endorse guidelines in that respect. Access to materials, I'm not exactly sure what that kind of policy would entail. I've not seen a sample policy of that, but we do serve patrons with disabilities. We don't have a specific policy saying that we will, but we do a lot of that. So other than a few of those instances where we don't have specific things the standards inquire about, we really, I think, are in very good position in terms of the Illinois standards in this chapter. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
That's good. Questions for George on this? Okay.
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Sure.
Where the library has a website with current information and content updated at least weekly. That section, there's nothing on that section.
Oh, I'm sorry, what page is that?
That's 5.
For heaven's sakes. Yes, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I was just
No,
curious.
I
Something that
I definitely answered it in my head. Didn't do any good.
We do indeed have a website.
Wait, yes.
Okay, yeah.
The first paragraph is okay, the second is okay.
You don't have to do it right now. I was just curious if we were okay with it.
Yeah, no, we do not do online registration at this point. That's the only thing we don't do through our website. But otherwise, everything else that I broke into pieces.
What is online registration?
That would be applying for a library card
Okay.
through the website.
Reading programs too.
Well, we do. Well, that's true. I interpreted this as registration for a library card, but it could be registration for programs, and we do allow registration for programs. So yes, that's true. Yeah.
All right.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, we'll move on to item 8, which is financial reports. We have, I guess the budget document that we have here in our packet is from the last fiscal year, which is not yet
Not completely closed. Yes, we're on target to. We've already had our preliminary audit review data gathering session, and we're on target to close out the budget. I think at the end of this month. I believe we're only a couple items shy of invoices that we're trying to get from vendors for things we received last fiscal year. So those are just a few odds and ends.
Okay.
This happens every year. We're on a cash basis throughout the entire year except for the fiscal year end on June 30th, which when the accounting standards for governments flip us onto an accrual basis. So we accrue everything that took place last fiscal year. All the charges are accrued back to last fiscal year.
Any progress on placement?
We have conducted interviews. We have done a second interview on one of the candidates, and I think Lee and I are scheduled to meet tomorrow to see if we're on the same wavelength with that person. So, yeah. We're excited. We'll be excited to get someone in.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good news. All right. So questions for George about the financial reports? Okay, sounds good. All right, item 9 is the President's report. I believe since our last meeting, was it the city council approved our request for a variance to the sign code, so we can proceed with our stairwell project and the sign that is a part of the walls of that stairwell facing Wilson Street. So that's very good news. Should be a good project, and I think it was good to see the city so supportive of that concept. I don't have anything else this evening, but I do note that one of our fellow elected officials, Township Trustee Lee Tracy, has joined us here, and I know Lee joined us after item 4, which is comments from the audience.
Put it at the beginning of the agenda.
Right. So if everyone will grant me the courtesy of seeing if Mr. Tracy would like to participate in comments from the audience at this time.
Thank you, Doug.
Sure.
Yeah. So most of you know me. I'm here actually representing the Batavia Arts Council. So I'll get over here so Barb can take my picture. Hello, Barb. How are you? So, along with George Sheets, he and I were founding members of the Batavia Arts Council, and I'm still there. And so we have a committee called the Political Committee of the Arts Council, which I chair, which in essence I would define as advocacy. So my bag is to go to various public bodies and advocate for the Batavia Arts Council, specifically in the arts in general. So I know that the library board has supported, in a great way, a lot of arts activities. So let me just share with you, I did put together a sheet which tells you about the Batavia Arts Council. And what this shows is the Batavia Arts Council has sort of morphed primarily over the last 6, 7, 8 years into a fundraising and grant-giving operation. So over the last 3 years, we have given grants this year to Water Street Studios in support of their print lab, and Albright Theater Company in support of their computerized lighting system, and to Acapella, which is a a cappella singing group in the western suburbs with a great deal of emphasis on their concerts in Batavia. Last year, we supported the Fox Valley Orchestra in their Messiah concert at the Batavia Arts Center, Batavia Artists Association, Water Street Studios, in support of their Art Flow project, which if you don't know about that, it's a program in the elementary schools. And the previous year, we funded the Batavia School District Art Program by helping them purchase a pug mill. If you don't know what a pug mill is, I will enlighten you sometime. In short, it's a device whereby you can regenerate used clay for pottery. So it saves a lot of used clay rather than buying a bunch of new clay. The main thing is I want you to be aware of the 2015 fundraising events. We did a cemetery walk where two of your folks here this evening took part. George and Diane were in the cemetery walk, which was a fundraising activity done jointly with the Historical Society. We just completed our annual polo tournament. And in September, we will have a Grease movie sing-along at the Batavia Fine Arts Center. In October, we do Halloween Hooligans. And in November, we do a holiday online gift auction. And in December, we're going to do at the Eastside Community Center, Shannon Hall, a presentation of Donna Latham is a local Batavia playwright. We did one of her plays last year, and this is another play based upon the 1914 Christmas truce in World War I.
Oh, cool.
So at any rate, and then I list those of us who are members of the Arts Council Board, and most importantly, the Arts Council website,
where you can go to acquire additional information.
Okay.
So that's my mission. Okay?
All right, thank you,
Thank
Lee.
you.
Good.
All right. Any questions for Lee about the Batavia Arts Council? All right. We'll move on to item 10. Any comments from board members? Any good news? Francine?
Well, I don't have the exact figures, but maybe Rich, the Friends of the Library had another sale and they did better than they thought they were going to do.
It was right around $950.
Yeah, for the summer, that's
Then
fantastic.
add on to that some corner book sale, so it was over $1,000.
It was over there. So just wanted to give kudos to the Friends of the Library for all their efforts that help us to acquire things for the library that we need.
Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else? Okay. Moving on to item 12, directors and librarians reports. We have a memo from George in our packet here. And I see, is this the first time you've added these statistics?
They've been in one of the attachments that I sent out.
Right. I think that's a good addition to our information here. It kind of shows the variety of ways that people utilize our services as opposed to just showing up to this building. So anyway, that was a positive change. Thank you for doing that.
Sure.
Would you like to highlight anything else in here?
Sure. For the home audience, what we're just talking about was, I appreciate your kind words, Doug. We added a total number of unique visitors to our website as to the monthly report. We pulled out of some of the attachments to make it in the main report, and so we had 445 unique visitors to our website last month. And we had 15,992 page views on our homepage last month, which is interesting, I think. So, I included as an attachment to the director's report, but also mentioned in the body of this, a flyer on Illinois Library Trustee Day, which we mentioned in passing last month. So I want to make sure that was highlighted. For you, so you could see that and know what was happening that day in case you were interested. Just let us know in the office if there's anyone interested in going to the Trustee Day event. And otherwise, I've got nothing in particular to pull out of this report, but I know that Joanne and Stacy have things to say. So.
Okay. Joanne, welcome.
Thank you. Well, my written report for this month highlights not only summer reading club stats, but also a little recap of things that were happening in youth services. But I'll kind of give you the highlights of summer reading club. I'm sending around 2 posters, 2 of the final posters there. Our stats this year were pretty much on par with the last 2 years. We're floating right around the 2,000 to 2,200 mark, within 100 of each other, both of those years, both in registered participants and in active participation. So we're very happy with that, and very happy with the turnout and participation of children in Batavia for Summer Reading Club. In addition to their reading successes, they also enjoyed over 95 terrific programs, which made it a very exciting summer, both reading-wise and activity-wise at the library. Some of the pictures you're seeing on the posters were from art programs we had, a sock hop we had here at the library, our Patron's Choice Movie Award program party that we had, and our Rhythm Matters, which was our final musical celebration this summer. Instead of having a big evening event, we had kind of an afternoon event. And that took place on Monday. We ended Summer Reading Club this year on Monday rather than Saturday, which we've traditionally been doing. And that seemed to be very well received. It gave people a few more hours to come in with logbooks and got them over the weekend vacation time. So we had a lot of people coming in on that last day. So that was a good change, and I think patrons really appreciated that opportunity. I'm also going to send around a picture of 46 of the 90 volunteers we had this summer at the Batavia Library. Ruth Aaron hosted a pizza party for them on August 5th. And so Michelle came up and they took a group picture, and both a more serious one and a very silly one. So we had a lot of great helpers this summer, and we appreciate that help from our middle school students. I have to say that sometimes it's a challenge to find something that middle schoolers want to do when you come in programming wise or activity wise or summer reading club wise. But I will tell you that they're very anxious to help and volunteer. And when we would call them some of them were scheduled weekly, some of them we used as book buddies where they were paired with younger children. They would wait for our calls every week to see if there was enough children to pair them with because they enjoyed that. Or they would help with some of our special events. Like these events you might have seen some middle school volunteers on. And so the enthusiasm to help at the library is very strong, especially during the summer months, and I think they do very much enjoy it. The last part of my report, my written report, shows some highlights of this fiscal year, some of our stats. And while our circulation items checked out youth services was a little bit down, our group study room, our computer lab room both showed increases in numbers of being used, as well as the reference questions answered by YS staff. So that shows that, to me at least, and as youth services staff discuss it, that people are really using our services in addition to checking out material, but they're using some of the services and the features we certainly have in youth services. And of course, one of the two big highlights for youth services this year was the development of our graphic novel area with the comfy seating. There is someone in there almost all the time, every day. Even now during these little slower weeks right before school gets started, there were a couple kids sitting in there today in the big comfy chairs. And moving that video game collection and making that a little bit more accessible to our patrons has really worked out well. So all in all, a great fiscal year, and we're getting off to a great start for this year. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Joanne, I see here that one of the comments from a summer reading club participant was, can summer reading club be longer? What is the duration of the event or
Well,
the
we
series?
take in logbooks for 8 weeks. We start registration generally at least a week, if not 2 weeks earlier than that. So from the first day we start registration, it goes almost 10 weeks. We usually stop the beginning of August. By then, what we have found is that most people are kind of losing interest in it. They might take a week or two before school starts. Now school starts, the elementary start tomorrow. So school is right here on us. Plus, I do have to say that some of our vendors, a lot of the coupons we're getting will expire towards the end of this month. So if we're giving them out too late in the month, there's not an opportunity to use them. So some of our sponsors will ask us how long, so that they know how long of leeway to give on that. So,
All right, sounds good, thank you.
you're welcome.
I was just going to say, my granddaughter participated, and she just loved it, as did we all, coming to look for Elvis. And, it was fun.
Great.
But my son really liked the idea of this reading log and program, even though my granddaughter loves to read. So he told me that he's going to keep it up, and after she reads so much more, then he's going to get her like a little prize, a book or something. So people can continue with it.
Great. Thanks.
you're awesome.
Yes, that's great to hear. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank
She
you.
loved it.
Stacy, welcome.
Okay, wasn't sure.
Just a couple of program updates. The Art in Your Eye Festival, as we know, happened this past weekend during one of the hottest weekends of the year. So kudos to everyone who endured the heat to see some wonderful artwork. Our program series this year actually wraps around the festival itself. Our final program is coming up next week on Tuesday, August 25th, when Jeff Misher will be here to talk about the art of Laredo Taft, an Illinois sculptor, who George can tell us why this is especially significant.
Well, the alma mater statue
Yes.
in Champaign, I think it's actually it's traced across the line of no passing. And he's also got a Lincoln statue in Urbana, and he's got the statue of the Native American statue, which is often referred to as Black Hawk out in Ogle County or someplace. But he's very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to this very much.
So even if people don't know the sculptor by name, I mean, we know him by his work. So we're looking forward to that program next week on Tuesday. We also have our next New Lyceum Lecture event coming up next month on Monday, September 21st at 7 o'clock. New York Times bestselling author Robert Kurson will be here to talk about his book Pirate Hunters, which is the follow-up to his also New York Times bestseller Shadow Divers. It's about a couple of deep-sea divers seeking a pirate ship, which is, as you read the book, one of the most difficult things to find. So he followed along on their adventure, and it's quite a remarkable true story. So that will be Monday, September 21st, 7 o'clock, and registration has just opened, so that's available on our website or by contacting librarians at the reference desk. Any questions at all?
I have a comment. My daughter and I came to see the first one with the guy who did the
Ezra
poster,
Siegel.
right?
Yeah.
Right. It was very thought provoking, and I also noticed that the other people that came were people that I have not seen around in the library before. So I think it really attracted an interesting group of people to bring into the library, and then really met their needs. So that was really great. Thanks.
Super. Well, thank you. It's a wonderful partnership with the Art in Your Eye committee and the festival.
Yeah.
And it does bring in some different folks to this summer series that we offer. We have, at this point, we've been creeping our programs into the summer. Previously, this was our primary adult programming in the summer was Art in Your Eye. At this point, due to patron demand, Lee has expanded Sundays on Stage. That's now year-round. There's some other things that go year-round. But the Art in Your Eye the series continues to be really popular.
It was good.
And we're really glad to be part of that event in the community.
Well, thanks for your hard work on it.
Well,
Appreciate
thank you.
Maybe we should, does the books invite start before the next board meeting on the 15th? And maybe around the same week.
I think it's the same week. Do you have a calendar in front of you? I don't have that exactly.
The first speaker is, it's the third Thursday. And the first speaker is Steve Morales. And he's written a book about his personal experiences called Shells, and we're really excited to have him.
We had a patron inquiring about the event because she didn't see the flyer yet, and she's very eager. And when I told her about the book, she said, "Oh yes!" And a couple people that were familiar with the story and talked about how inspirational a figure he is in the community. So we're looking forward to his program.
Thursday, September 17th at noon in the Foundry.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Stacy? All right, thank you. Okay, item 13, committee reports. The facilities committee did not meet, but we can get an update on our site work project if Andrew wants to give us
I'll
anything
send
on
it
that.
to George.
Okay.
There was a lot of reports came out today, but I didn't get a chance to read them yet.
A lot has been happening. The coping caps, the cast stone, the weather is bad. The cast stone caps for the walls arrived, I want to say 2 weeks ago, and they are all installed except for the Water Street corner, of course. They're all installed. The walls and caps were cleaned, they were sealed, they were caulked, and the railings have been installed on the upper portion here. So a lot of work has been, it's been like dominoes once the first piece starts to fall. So a lot of exciting work has been taking place.
And the pots,
The pots arrived at some point. I forget what that was.
you call something that big a pot.
Yeah.
They've been here a while.
A little
Yeah,
while.
they may have been here since last month, but they
So,
They've all been straightened, and the electricity and the irrigation has been stubbed up through them. So we'll have plantings installed as a separate project later this year. And Egghead went back on the wall. Too much fanfare and attention on Facebook and otherwhere.
I was glad to see him.
Yeah. And so just a lot of interesting things happening. The columns covers are in order. There's a horrifically long lead time for those, so we're expecting it'll be October, probably latter half of October before anything happens with the columns. The swinging doors have started to arrive, and they've begun to work on replacing which are mainly exit doors around the building, except for the two in the cafe. And so work has begun on those. And Kathy, I'm not sure if since I was gone yesterday, do we have any latest update on the doors? We're starting to work out a new service.
They were gonna work on them tomorrow, but with the rain, I think they're gonna push it back to Thursday.
Okay.
And they hope to have them in the meeting room turned over in one day.
So that's coming along well. The lead time for the engraved cast stone for the corner of Wilson and Water Street is a long lead time as well, and it will doubtless be October before we see the final work taking place there. As soon as the Committee of the Whole of the City Council approved the zoning variance and passed it on to the City Council for a final vote, the city staff said that was the point that the contractor could apply for a sign permit, which he did, and came back with two comments relating to the landscape, the least significant portion of this. And they just wanted us to specify on the drawings the sizes of the trees and the shrubs so that they correspond with the minimums in the zoning code. And so I prepared a memo, and BTC prepared a revised landscape plan, and that they just finished that yesterday, and I submitted that today late in the afternoon to the city. So, but I believe the material was already ordered because the variances were approved. It was just a matter of crossing a T and dotting an I, and which we did. So I think that pretty well covers all the odds and ends. So that's
okay. All right, any questions for George or Andrew about that? Okay. 13C is the Outreach Committee. Diana, anything to report there?
I'm not the leader.
Well, that's a mistake. That's my mistake. I've done that twice now.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know. I thought you went back and you were like, oh, wait a minute,
No,
she is the one.
no, you are.
Okay.
It's somehow I made a typo, and it's like it keeps perpetuating itself, and I
It's okay.
apologize to both women.
Knock it off.
That's all right. There's only two of us most of the time.
Karen
So it's all
is
right.
the actual chair of the committee.
It's okay. Well, we did have a special guest at the outreach meeting. Yes, Jen DeBose. She brought to our attention, I brought it up at the last meeting, about the human library. And so she came and talked to us and actually showed us a video of how it works and described to us what the situation is. And actually, it's very interesting. What she showed us was that actually the event that she showed us took place outside of what's the literary festival in Chicago, right?
The book
festival.
Yeah, the book festival in Chicago. Yeah, Printers Row. And there were tables, and in essence, what you can do is you can check out a person. So you might have had somebody who was like HIV positive. They had somebody who was a vegan and an atheist. You know, that sort of, you could check the person out for, was it 30 minutes, I believe?
I think so.
And then you could sit and you would talk with them. And it sounds like, and the idea is that when you start talking with people that maybe you don't have anything in common with, that you're going to form some sort of empathy or something like that. Or you're just going to find out more information. So, anyway, so that was that type of event. Well, we delved more into it as far as like how could we be a part of this. And since she's just in the beginning stages of this, there's not much that we can do to actually bring, because it's kind of complicated, because it's actually, if you start a human library, there's a larger umbrella of groups that do this, and they provide all kinds of training on it. And actually, the one in Chicago is a board that runs this human library, so it's not necessarily attached to the Chicago Public Library. But we feel like it's an important kind of an event or a program that in the future that we might be able to, if this event would take place in our meeting room, or if it became something that it was built up, that she did get a board and this was moving forward, that we would, provide possibly some sort of one of us or a trustee or somebody to be put, as a consultant with them, kind of that kind of connection. Because to have a personnel from our library on there, we would have to take the personnel away from something else that is already happening here. And so that's kind of how that worked out. But it's you get a chance to go, I'll try to remember to send the link to you, but it's really kind of an amazing event and situation, and I think it's something that is really important and that should go forward. It's really interesting.
And the idea is hopefully that it will promote a better understanding of people that are different from you. And I think, did she hand something out, or was it just the video? But it was like there were a list of different people, like as you mentioned, HIV positive, but it could be a gay person, a lesbian, a transgender, I don't
Somebody
know.
with
A disability. Disability.
There's so many levels here of just how people can communicate with each other and understand each other better. I think that's the whole thing, is that in some cases people would consider that our society right now is very divisive, and that to bring us more together. But the thing is, it's not just that the person might be different than you, but actually maybe there's somebody who is gay and is just wanting to know, well, what happened? What's the situation? Get to, like when you pick out a book, sometimes you pick out a book because you're like, I like Westerns, right? So you're gonna pick out a Western and you want to learn more about something. So, there's a lot of different levels of things going on here.
Well, the eye-opener to me were categories or titles, they call them, such as a vegan or an atheist, or people that, we don't think of as being generally at odds with everybody else. But it was interesting, they interviewed the atheist, who was very interested in being one of the books to be checked out, if you will, because her experience was that she gets a lot of pushback and criticism from her colleagues and her family and friends, and was interested in opening up more of a dialogue about, why she is an atheist and what it means to be an atheist and that sort of thing. So it can be almost any human condition or philosophy you can imagine that might fall in this category. But the woman who is interested in organizing this certainly has a major task, I think, in creating that kind of a board. The Chicago organization is a couple of years old, I think, and it's got and it's still growing, I think. But it takes a lot of work. The training alone to be a book is like 6 hours.
Was it 6? Or was it more than that?
I think it was at least 6 for someone who was interested in being one of the books, under a particular title.
60, but I've 60
so there's
hours, way too
a lot of people power to make some event like that happen. So, but it was an eye opener.
I think you provided several different groups that she might approach, and I thought about there's 5 of us here from my church. My church, we have a justice and witness team, and I thought, well, this sounds like something that our church might be interested in, and maybe many other churches would be interested in being a part of this.
Well, I think, okay, so the final result is that basically we're not taking any action on this at this point, but as, and I'm willing to help out Jen, and if this goes further, that we may be coming to the board and saying, hey, this is where we can help and participate.
It's exciting. I think it's
Yeah.
really
I think at a minimum, we have the space. If a group such as this could book our founders room as a public meeting, a public function, and so there's at least that level that the library can easily participate.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Kara. 13D is the Services Committee. We did meet this month, and our main focus of business was the strategic plan. So we discussed at length the process by which 3 action teams met. There were trustees. Thank you for your participation in those action teams. And they each submitted or brainstormed and then submitted to us as a committee their goals and objectives for over a several year period.
Well, just the first
It's just for the first year. Okay. So what you have here on page 2 of well, actually, I guess we'll be getting to that under item 14. So I suppose it's premature to get into all that now. But that was the focus of our committee meeting. Okay. Then item 13E is the Library Foundation. Kara, anything to report there?
Okay, so that says next meeting, but actually I think the meeting was on Tuesday, July 28th.
Yes, the next meeting's coming up next
Tuesday, right. So, still continuing to try to raise money for the maps. So, turned in a couple of grants, both have been turned down. Trying to learn from that, by contacting the people that we tried to get the grants from, and just what is it that we need to do to try to raise the money through the grant way. And then I know that I think the committee is going to be presenting a more thorough sequence of raising the money as far as when we're going to start going out and to the community and asking for some funding for it. So that's basically where we're at to that.
Okay. Questions for Kara on that? Okay. 13G is Link. George, would you like to share anything about Link?
Actually, there's nothing really new to report. The most significant initiative that's underway right now is exploring the future of Link, either continuing as an independent consortium, somehow combining in some fashion, either in a partnership venture or in some other way with one or more other existing consortia in this area, whether Link should expand its membership and how to do that. So there's a lot of that kind of discussion going on, and I think similar to what I may have touched on last meeting. And so it's all ongoing, and no particular strong focus at this point. Still a lot of research and investigation.
Has the one library pulled out entirely now?
Franklin Park is they're not totally separated yet. I think that'll be effective in 2016. I think January 1st.
A year, they have to give a year notice?
I think it's at least a year, yeah. So that library is still participating in the meetings. So Link will drop down to 8 members, and it becomes a question with a very, very small consortium and a lot of the changes taking place and what's going on in the state, how viable will Link be in the future and that sort of thing. And so it's an important issue for us. But as I say, there's a group within the Link board that's both discussing this and with the Link board, and also meeting with other area consortia to discuss ideas and directions. So I'll have news to report at some point, but right now it's the early investigatory, getting to know one another stage, I think, of things going on.
So is the state, when you're talking about the state being a part of that or moving into the consortium, are you talking about like state funding, or are you talking about the state library is making changes with consortiums or providing something?
A little bit of both. The state Illinois State Library connected consortia, which are, the acronym for them is LSAPS, and it's LLSAPS, and I'm not going to try to remember exactly what that acronym stands for at the moment, but those are the consortia that grew out of each of the old library systems across the state, and those were eligible for special funding and grants from the state library over the past 20 years or more, and have enabled some of those consortia to do many things. Batavia used to be in one of those consortia and pulled out about, something less than 20 years ago, I think, pulled out of one of those. And state funding is actually being, the formula for funding and providing grants to the LSAPs is changing. So their world is changing. Some of the membership has been changing within the LSAPs, and the one that Batavia used to belong to, which is known as MAGIC, was part of the DuPage library system formerly. It's not part of Rails. Is relatively small, and I think it is seriously looking at its future and whether it needs to combine with another local consortium area. And in the end, LINC, which serves only public libraries and is not an LSAP, and basically funds itself, could be a very, end up being the smallest consortium in Northern Illinois, and that may not be an issue, but the members of the LINC board wanted to investigate, what the future might hold and what is happening around us, and what policies or other practices from the state might affect us and that sort of thing. So it really is truly in the most traditional sense of the word an investigation at this point. And there's no compulsion to become a member of another consortium or to become part of a merger of multiple consortia at this point. But I think the idea is what is best for the member libraries of LINC and what will best serve us individually as libraries in the future. So I expect this process to carry on for quite a few months, as the investigation proceeds.
Thanks.
Okay. 13H is BATV. Kara, anything to report there?
Let's see. I think that the franchise agreement has been done. Okay, so I think we're going to be actually getting some capital money. That's good. What else? Football season is starting up. That's a big time for BATV, so that's good. And I think we're getting a new marketing. The marketing group is doing a new logo and line tag. That's what I report right now about that.
Okay. Questions about BATV?
I just have a comment there. Alan Huxtable, who is a member of the Congregational Church of Batavia, right across the street, she runs a program on BATV in which she kind of interviews local people and about to make the public aware of, Batavians aware of what interesting things are happening right in our town. And she did interview Joanne Smith from the Friends of the Library, so we got another plug there. I think the library got another plug through BATV. So I think that's out there recorded. I can't remember, it was just last week or something that the interview occurred. And then
I think it's available on the BATV website.
it is, yes. And I was out of town, so I didn't have a chance to see it. And then my husband was featured also talking about, gee, what else? Windmills. So I think that's out there as well. So
Watch that.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Francine, for being on top of that part of it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so moving on to item 14, which I started to get into. So we have before us some proposed goals and objectives for our fiscal year that just began, which also essentially become goals for George as our library director. So the summary is on this second page here with the 3 goals in yellow and then several objectives underneath each of those goals. You can also see on the following pages that all the ideas that were brainstormed by those various action teams were also recorded here. But the stuff that's in purple is maybe backburnered or left for future consideration, or maybe moved to a different category or something like that. So I guess at this point, does anyone have any questions or comments about the 3 goals and any of these objectives?
I just think that the committees did a great job organizing all this. And reviewing the goals and their objectives, I think it's going to be a good action plan.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think they put their thinking caps on and got very creative here and came up with a bunch of good ideas that, you know, we always need to be moving forward and growing, or else we're falling behind. So this is important work, and they did a good job here.
And it came up at the action team meetings that these were only 3 goals, but there are many more within these that to look at for next year too.
Mm-hmm.
So the planning is already started for that.
Right.
I think the process that we went through, at least on the team I was on, and probably on all the teams, it was so good. Just that, you know, everybody gave their ideas, and it was truly brainstorming as opposed to somebody giving an idea and right away somebody cutting it down. It wasn't like that at all. And so I think that's why there are so many good ideas, and why I'm glad to see some of the ideas that aren't being acted upon right now are still in writing. They were good ideas.
Now, George, in terms of our process, will we need to convene action teams 12 months from now to rehash this, or how do you see that?
The general idea is in the spring, March, April, May, somewhere in that time period, to reconvene the 3 action teams to review the progress of we'll have reports between then and now, of course, but to review the progress, make recommendations on, make a report on this current year we're in, and then make recommendations for the year coming up, starting the following July 1st. So the idea is for the action teams to come together every spring to evaluate, consider, and bring back a recommendation to keep the process alive and well.
Okay. Okay.
I'll get the motion then to approve the objectives and projects for 2015-16 in support of the strategic plan as presented.
I second that.
And second by Blodgett. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Our strategic plan for the coming year is approved. Thank you all. All right. Then, future agenda items, we have a report of some upcoming issues here. Any questions for George on any of these items? Okay. So, our next item on our agenda is item 16, a closed session for litigation as authorized by 5 ILCS 120/2C11. And so I guess for the purposes of our public audience, we don't have any other action items to come before this board after we reconvene from closed session. So feel free to excuse yourselves, and there won't be anything substantive coming up after this closed session. So what I'll need to do now is call for a motion to recess into closed session.
Correct.
Okay.
Once, item 17G, by the way, George, I think there's a typo on the dates. Those aren't Tuesday through Monday,
Okey-doke.
if you want to check
I'll
those.
double check that.
All right.
We move to closed session.
Okay. Moved by Deitchman.
Second.
And second by Blodgett. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay.